The State Weather Bureau says Typhoon Karina further intensified as it moved further from the country's landmass. According to Pag-asa's 5 p.m. bulletin on Tuesday, July 23, signal number 2 is raised over Batanes, while 4 Luzon areas remain under signal number 1. Karina now carries maximum sustained winds of 150 km per hour and gustiness of up to 185 km per hour. Pag-asa last spotted Karina 325 km east-northeast of Pasco, Batanes. Heavy to intense rains are expected over Batanes, Babuyan Islands, the northern and eastern portion of mainland Cagayan, and Ilocos Sur from Tuesday to Wednesday afternoon, July 24. Meanwhile, Ilocos Norte, La Union, Abra, Benguet, Apayao, the eastern portion of Isabela, and the rest of Cagayan will experience moderate to heavy rainfall until Wednesday afternoon. The enhanced southwest monsoon will bring moderate to intense rainfall over several localities in the western portion of Luzon until Thursday, July 25. Karina is forecast to steadily intensify but will remain far from the Philippine landmass. 8 persons were reported dead due to tropical cyclones Butchoy and Karina, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. In its situational report on Tuesday, July 23, the NDRRMC says 7 deaths have been validated while 1 is still for validation. 4 of the deaths were reported in Zamboanga Peninsula and were due to trauma or suffocation by entrapment following landslides in Barangay Pamukutan, Zamboanga City. 2 deaths were reported in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao and 1 death each were reported in Northern Mindanao and Davao Region. Meanwhile, 2 were reported injured and 1 was reported missing in northern Mindanao. Bad weather brought about by the 2 tropical cyclones affected at least 800,000 persons and displaced around 600,000 persons. The NDRRMC pegged damage to agriculture at 8.7 million pesos, while damage to infrastructure was estimated at 700,000 pesos. Vice President Sara Duterte says the Philippine National Police pulled out 75 of its personnel assigned for her protection. In a statement on Tuesday, July 23, Duterte says the PNP chief's order to pull out personnel from her security group will not affect her work in the office of the Vice President. Following the order, Duterte also hopes to, quote, hear less cries from the people regarding the proliferation of drugs in the country. Meanwhile, PNP Chief General Romel Francisco Marbil says Duterte was not singled out in the pullout order. Marbil points out that they also pulled out the security contingent of other retired generals due to lack of personnel, especially in Metro Manila. According to Marbil, the pulled out personnel would be deployed to the National Capital Region Police Office. China is urging the Philippines to keep its supposed promise on agreements for the rotation and resupply missions to the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. In a press conference on Monday, July 22, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning was asked about the Philippines' rejection of China's statement on the need for prior notification before conducting resupply missions in Ayungin Shoal. Mao reiterates what she calls China's principled position and urges Manila to work with Beijing in managing the maritime dispute.
中方基于处理当前仁爱礁局势的3点原则立场，同非方就运补人道主义生活物资达成临时性安排，体现了中方的善意。我们希望非方信守承诺，同中方相向而行，共同管控好海上局势。
On July 21, the Department of Foreign Affairs said the Philippines and China have reached an understanding on the temporary arrangement for resupply missions to Ayungin. The agreement was reached after a series of consultation following what the DFA described as frank and constructive discussions between the 2 countries during the 9th bilateral consultation mechanism on the South China Sea in Manila on July 2. However, specifics of the supposed deal have yet to be disclosed by both parties. In a statement early Monday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the Philippines would be allowed to conduct resupply missions if Beijing is informed in advance and after on-site verification is conducted. Later Monday, the DFA disputed China's statement on such arrangements, calling it inaccurate. The DFA also stressed that the agreement was concluded with a clear understanding on both sides that it would not prejudice both countries' respective national positions. According to the DFA, the Philippines will continue asserting its rights and jurisdiction in its maritime zone, including in Ayungin Shoal, which is within its exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. Senate President Cheese Escudero is urging Bamban Mayor Alice Guo to show up in the Senate and follow its rules after the local official apologized to him in a letter. In an interview on Tuesday, July 23, Escudero says he can't accept Guo's request for his understanding until she faces the Senate.
Bagaman naunawaan ko, yung pag-unawang hinihingi niya, hanggat hindi siya nagpapakita at sumusunod sa Senado, ay hindi ko matatanggap ang anumang pakiusap na hinihiling niya dun sa kanyang liham. Kaugnay hindi lamang sa pag-unawa, pero para matulungan din yung kanyang mga kababayan. Dahil meron naman pumalit sa kanyang Vice Mayor para ipagpatuloy ang trabaho ng pamahalaan sa banban.
For Escudero, Guo should face the Senate so the warrant of arrest against her could be lifted. Escudero reiterates that the Senate could guarantee Guo's safety should she decide to participate in the probe. In a letter received by Escudero's office on July 22, Guo apologized to the Senate President after she questioned why Senators Win Gatchalian, Risa Ontiveros, and other government offices seem fixated on her instead of focusing on many critical issues facing the country. Guo had also appealed to the Senate leadership to help her constituents as she could not fulfill her duties while she was suspended. The Office of the Ombudsman has suspended the mayor due to the charges lodged against her over her alleged ties to an illegal Philippine offshore gaming operator in Bamban. Guo has repeatedly denied the allegation. The upper chamber has ordered Guo's arrest following her continued failure to face its probe into the illegal activities of POGOs. Senate President Cheese Escudero and Senator Rafi Tulfo are seeking the suspension of the controversial Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program until all issues surrounding it are resolved. During the Senate Committee on Public Services hearing about the PUV Modernization Act on Tuesday, July 23, Escudero says he has been objecting to the PUV modernization plan, noting that it was not well thought out and would only burden the transport sector.
Sa halagang 2.5 million kada isa, saan naman kukuha ng pambayad nun yung operator o yung driver? Kahit anong computation ang gawin ninyo para mabayaran yung buwan ng hulog sa isang PUV na 2.53 million ng halaga, kahit maganda ko ba yung driver, kulang po ang 24 na oras ng pamamasada para mabayaran yon na may kita pa rin yung operator at yung driver.
Escudero then urges Committee on Public Services Chairperson Tulfo to file a resolution expressing the sense of the Senate and calling on President Bongbong Marcos to temporarily suspend the PUV modernization program.
Buwang paniniwala ko na mayoriya ng mga senador ay sumusuporta sa pagsuspinde ng modernization program na ito, kaya imbis na panukalang batas o dagdag dito, makakapagpasa tayo agad ng resolusyon expressing the sense of the Senate na hinihiling at pinapanawagan sa Pangulo na ito'y pansamantala munang suspindihin hanggat hindi nasasagot lahat ng mga katanungan, lahat ng problema at lahat ng kwestyong pinansyal kaugnay ng modernisasyong ito.
Escudero expresses high hopes regarding the appeal, especially after the President's State of the Nation address, where he publicly announced the immediate banning of Philippine offshore gaming operators nationwide. For the Senate Chief, Marcos's decisive order means that he listens and he is sensitive to the pulse and opinion of the people. Tulfo receives Escudero's proposal well, agreeing to file such a resolution. Escudero says he's willing to help Tulfo get majority signatures should he file the resolution in the coming days. The government's PUV modernization plan seeks to revise the country's franchising system in a bid to deliver safe and comfortable transport. Despite apprehensions publicly aired by the transport sector, Marcos earlier maintained that no driver would lose their job and livelihood under the PUV modernization program.